the picture. It's impossible. Hello, welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be my first story time ever, and it is about my horror stories from my old apartment complex. Just to let you know, this is baby Aria and Paisley. The first story was, I lived in this apartment complex for 4 years. So 2 years I lived in a 1-bed, 1-bath. That's when I first got my first pup, Paisley. I wanted to upgrade to a 2-bed, 2-bath because I just wanted her to have more space to run and play. It was a teeny tiny apartment, the first one, so it was definitely an upgrade once we moved. Throughout these 4 years of living there, I have seen the craziest things ever. Started out, my 1-bed, 1-bath, we had a girl that was a lot younger. She was like 18 or 19 living below us. She's a stripper, so she came in at like all hours of the night. Nothing against strippers, but she was just very loud when she got home. And the walls were like paper thin, so you heard everything. She came home at like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. would just slam doors. I remember the same kid, he looked really young, like 17 or 18. He was living in the apartment complex right next to our apartment. So our apartment complex, and then there's one right next to ours, and then a fence in between. He would be on this side, and I would see, because I had Paisley, my first dog, I would sit at the dog park, let her run and play before I had to go to work. So I would see him all the time hopping the fence from the other apartment complex into this one to go hang out with her. And I saw it a couple times. I'm like, okay, that's weird. I saw him do that a couple times. And then one night he was at her place and he was just, they were making a lot of noise. Like it sounded like fighting, like someone was wrestling, hitting walls. Like it was just so much noise that I was like worried. I'm like, did someone just like get murdered or something? I don't know, it was so loud. 5 minutes later, sure enough, the cops show up. They're banging on the door, yelling. This is like 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning. So I'm like wide awake. I'm like, what is this noise? Like, what is going on? I looked through the little peephole in my door and you can hear everything plain as day. The cops are yelling, like it's so loud, and the walls are paper thin. So I'm just watching everything happen out of this peephole. What a creep. I'm such a creepy neighbor. But usually when stuff like this happens, like I don't know, it's hard not to look to see what's going on. And you want to make sure there isn't like some killer out on the loose. So I'm just looking out the peephole and I see the cop like banging on the door saying like, open up, it's the police, blah, blah, blah. So then they bust open the door, go in, take the guy. He's like resisting. So they wrestle him to the ground. Meanwhile, he's screaming like a little girl. Like I thought it was the girl they were wrestling, but it was the guy. So they wrestled him to the ground, handcuffed him. They checked his pockets and they were like, why do you have $5,000 in cash on you? And just to let you know, this was probably around like October. It wasn't even like the beginning of the year. He was like, oh, income tax season. That's how I got it. So they're like, okay. They bring him to the cop car. They come back, one of the cops, or two of them, I don't even remember. It was like a while ago, like 4 years ago. One of the cops comes back and is talking to the girl, the stripper that lived below us, and said, we see that you filed a domestic violence against him, but then took it off, and we just have to note, like, do you want to file charges again and keep it so he doesn't come back and do this again? So that, like, right there, I was thinking, okay, it sounded like he beat the crap out of her, because it sounded like someone was wrestling, banging on walls, like, it just sounded scary. So, she just said, no, I don't want to file anything, I just don't want him here. So I'm like, dumb idiot. So we're all listening to this, and then I forget what else. Oh, down the road, like 2 or 3 years later on Facebook, I saw that guy, because he was in the area, so I follow the news all the time, like in that area that I was living. So it showed that guy, he was only 19 years old, he got shot and killed because he had an altercation with one of his friends about something. He pulled out a gun and it just ended bad. So he just sounded like a not good kid, but that's where we lived. It wasn't like these apartments were bad. They were actually really, really nice. They were remodeled. Everything was it was in like, I thought, a good area. Like it wasn't a bad area at all. And they were really expensive apartments. Like they were not cheap what they were charging you. So that's why I thought like it would be a safe, good environment. And You just can't choose your neighbors. That's the only thing. Okay, I totally forgot to add this. The clips might look so random, like my background might be totally moved around because I keep adding more to this story. 'Cause all these stories keep popping up back in my head once I start like editing and doing stuff. This one time, I was actually working my IT job, and then I was also working for like Home Shopping Network. I was modeling. So the hours were just crazy that I was working, but the IT job that I worked from like 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. So I'd sleep like most of the day and then get up around like maybe 1 or 2, start getting ready for the day, and then go to work at night. So, and some days it wasn't all the time, but some days I would be gone and I would have to work my modeling job like in the morning and then work my IT job at night. So this one day I didn't have modeling in the morning. I was sleeping in, I was trying to sleep till like 2 in the afternoonish. This was my 1 bed, 1 bath apartment, my very small first apartment. I was home alone, and it was just me and Paisley, and I was in bed sleeping. And my apartment at the time was way in the back of the complex. Like it was way in the back. Like there were so many other apartments, and mine was like way in the back, like all on its own. So it's just so weird. And mine was on the top. Like there's so many of the same apartment. It's just strange that someone would do this to my apartment, but it scared the crap out of me. I was sleeping in 12 in the afternoon, and I was still like kind of laying in bed. I wasn't like completely like sleeping. I was kind of on and off. And Paisley was just going nuts. Paisley would not stop barking. She would just bark and bark and bark. And I was like, what is going on? Like usually she does that if someone's at the door or someone's like close to the door. Like she'll just bark like that. So I'm like, it's probably like my neighbor trying to get into their apartment and she's barking. So I'm like, Paisley, quit. But she's acting weird. Like she's running to the door, back to me, like back and forth. Like I'm just like, okay, I'm getting up to see what's going on just to make sure it is my neighbor just walking up the stairs going into their apartment. So I'm looking, and it's someone in my front door. And all I see is they're bending over. And I also have to note it was around like October time for like Halloween. And I, at the time, 4 years ago, bought the cutest statues from Target. These things are heavy as crap, and it's so cute. I had 2 of them sitting in my front door, like this, and then another one, the same exact thing. I couldn't carry 2 because they're heavy as crap. But they were sitting in my front doorway as like decoration for Halloween. They're so cute. But you can notice when this is moving around. Like that's all I heard. And I was like, what the heck? Someone was like moving it around, and I saw their back like hunched over in my front doorway. I was looking through the peephole, and Paisley was barking like crazy. Like she was going nuts, and I literally just woke up. It was like 12 in the afternoon, and I look over to Paisley and I'm like, Paisley, quit. And I screamed that right in the front doorway because I was still looking, but I just screamed. I wasn't even thinking. That person got up, shot up really quick, ran down the stairs and ran away. They had a backpack on them. They were really skinny. Like it almost looked like a kid. Like a kid was looking for a key underneath my statue to try to break in. Like that's what it looked like, and that's what it seemed like, because they were searching underneath this like statue. And I was like, I was so shaken up. I just didn't know what to do. I called the front office and I was like, what do I do if someone was trying to break in? And they were like, you call the police. There's nothing we can do. And I was like, I have no evidence. I didn't have cameras at the time. Like, I had nothing. Like, they would have been like, okay, well, next time you just, I don't know, you got to get a better description or whatever. So my next apartment, when I moved, I bought cameras and I put them right in front of my doorway, like both doors, because I'm like, I'm not having that happen again. That was so scary. And out of all the apartment complex, mine got almost robbed, but I was home. Like, good thing I was got in. I don't know what I would have done. Like, that's just so scary. But another thing, I worked at an IT job, but it was from home. I was remote. So I worked the graveyard shifts, as they would call it, because nobody else wanted to work those. So I worked from 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. every single night, and it was every single night into that apartment, I would work those graveyard shifts, the 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. Sure enough, as soon as I clocked out at 3 a.m., every single night, my dog Paisley would be staring at the same exact wall, barking for no reason. As soon as it hit 3 a.m. and as soon as I were to like clock out for work, she would just bark at that same wall. Like, what is going on? I swear that apartment was haunted because she just did the weirdest things. I did record it and I sent it to my sisters, but that was like 4 years ago, so I deleted it. I still have that video, but I don't know, it's gone. But I did have that. It was just so weird and scary. I don't know, there might have been something, it could have been anything, like loud music, someone banged, but it was like every single night at 3 a.m. exactly. Like, it was just the weirdest thing. It was so creepy. That 1-bed, 1-bath apartment, our ceiling was caving in. Like, it was just slowly each and every day was just drooping down lower and lower. It wasn't a quick thing. It was just like each day for like weeks and weeks. I didn't really notice it because I was working from home. I barely left the house, only to like run errands, and that was it. I worked from home. So I saw my rooms, my ceilings, I didn't think anything of it. But this one day, my sister came over and she's like, Amanda, your ceiling looks like it's caving in. Like, it just keeps drooping down and down. And you could see like the gap in between the light and then the ceiling. Like, it just looked so bad. I'm like, oh my God, you're right. That is just so scary. I had to call the maintenance guys in the front office. They had to come. I think they put like over 200 nails into the ceiling to just make sure it's like stays up, but that was it. There was also, he was kind of a neighbor. He wasn't right below us directly or anywhere like in my building. He was in a separate building, but same complex. There was a guy that was impersonating a cop. And they actually caught him. He went to jail for this, but he did this 3 to 4 times in our apartment complex. He pulled people over pretending to be a cop. He actually got into a girl's apartment pretending to be a cop. Like, I'm sorry, but I would not let anyone in my house. I would be like, I'm sorry, you don't have a warrant or anything. You can't come in my house. Like, that's just so creepy. Well, not house, apartment. But he did this 3 to 4 times. Pulled people over, pretending to be a cop. They finally arrested him. I don't know if he still is in jail or they let him out, but that was in our apartment complex. And then also, I would have to walk Paisley really, really, really late at night, like 3 a.m., obviously, because I worked those graveyard shifts. So right when I got off of work, or sometimes my lunch would be at like 1 a.m. So I would go out, just get some fresh air and walk Paisley. I would see the weirdest things at night, like so weird. Like, I felt like my apartment complex, like a college dorm room. Like, it just felt like there was just a ton of kids. I would walk Paisley. This one night, I remember I saw 2 bodies at the bottom of a stairwell or staircase. And the staircases are long, like they are huge. It's not like a couple stairs and then you're at the next story. It was long. It was a 2-story building. So I saw 2 bodies just laying right at the bottom of the stairs. And I paused and I'm like, am I just seeing things? Like, is that just me? Should I call the cops? Oh my, I was like having a heart attack and like talking to myself. I'm like, what do I do? So come to find out, someone called the cops. They were drunk. They were just passed out. 2 people, a boy and a girl, just passed out on the bottom of the stairs. I'm like, this is weird. So, and this is all like within the past 4 years that I lived in this apartment complex. It wasn't like the next day or next month. It was like throughout the 4 years I lived there. Another night, was walking Paisley, saw a girl at the top of the stairs, sitting at the very, very top step and just peeing a river. Like, it just sounded like it was downpour raining. She's just sitting there peeing. Like, no big deal. I do this all the time. Like, it was just so awkward. I'm like, oh my gosh, just sitting there just peeing. I also forgot to add just now, because I was looking through my old videos. I was walking the dogs early one morning, and I saw there was like blood all over where the mailboxes are, like drops of blood. There's a piece of the car part, and there was blood all over where the mailboxes are. It looked like someone got in a car accident and like right there, or like shot or something. Like, it was just really weird. I didn't hear anything at the time. There was just blood everywhere, and like a part of a car. I do have video of that. I'll have to add that. But I saw that also over by the mailboxes one morning when I was walking the dogs. One of the employees got fired, so They normally, the complex, when the employees work, they have to, like the maintenance guys, they have to like put all their stuff in the front office. Like they have lockers, I guess. So he had to lock his like keys to his car, everything, his lunch, like all of his stuff in that locker. So I guess they fired him while he was like in the middle of work, like it was in the afternoon. So they locked everything in the front office. Everything was locked, the doors, the windows, everything. The guy was banging on the doors like, can you let me in? I just have to get my stuff to leave. I guess, I don't know if something happened between him, he threatened them, I don't even know, but it just seemed like so mean that they would lock his stuff in there, but I'm guessing they did it for good cause. But he was just banging on all the windows, all the doors, like so loud, like it was so loud. Of course, when I was walking Paisley, I saw this, but he was just banging on all the doors. And then finally he went to the front doorway where you have to walk into the building, the front office, and he banged so hard that the glass on the door shattered. Like it was all over the ground. And then the front office called the cops. There was like 5 cop cars blocking the whole entrance. They didn't have to tackle him or anything. He just walked up to them saying that he just wanted his things because they locked up the apartment. They took him away. Don't know how that was resolved, but the front entrance doorway was kind of like just blocked off for a little while until they could replace the glass. Oh, there's also really annoying like random things. I know sometimes you can't control your dogs, like, or cats, like sometimes they get out the front door or whatever, but I'm like so cautious. I make sure my dogs don't run out the front door. Like I'm so OCD because I don't want them getting hit by a car or just like running away so I can't find them. I felt like every single day that I lived in that apartment complex, it was like someone's dog was loose. There was a neighbor right below me that was on the bottom floor. Her dog kept getting out the window. I was like, how does that even happen? Like, your dog keeps jumping out the window and running away. Like, I just did not get it. I didn't understand, but there were always dogs loose. There was also my 2-bedroom, 2-bath that I moved into, my upgrade. Same apartment complex, it was just a different apartment. So I moved across the way, and I had a leak in one of my walk-in closets. I had my closet full of clothes, shoes, everything in it, and there's a massive leak. I do still have footage of that. I'll insert the leak. Calling every single weekend for like, I think it was like 4 or 5 weekends in a row, the front office. I would be like, I have video footage, this is not fixed, can you please, like the first time I asked them to come fix it, there was a leak. They asked if there was mold on the ground or if it hit the ground, anything like that, and I was like, no, there's no mold, nothing hit the ground. I had a bowl at the bottom of the floor, like catching everything. So they had a roofer guy or someone come out, look at the leak. He just looked up and was like, yeah, there's a leak. And then he just like did some patchwork and that was it, and then left. And I'm like, okay, that's weird, but I'm not questioning anyone's job. That's apparently he knows what he's doing. The next weekend started pouring down rain, had to call them again. And in Florida, it rains like almost every single day. Like it was raining so much. I called them again, they sent out the same exact guy, and I was like, hey, I haven't, the same exact leak, same spot, it's still not fixed, I don't know what you did. I wasn't that mean, but I'm like, what the heck? I had to call this guy again, they called the roofer guy. He comes out and he looks on the top of the roof this time. He doesn't see any holes or anything. He's like, okay, well, I don't know what to tell you because there's no leaks or holes or anything where the rain would come through. I was like, okay, well, can't you go in or something, like in the attic, like look there. So he went in the attic, he's like, I don't see the water spots or where it would be coming from. So he said that he did something up there. I don't know what it was, but he said it should be fixed by now. And I was like, okay. So sure enough, rained again. I had to call the front office again. The same exact roofer came out and I was like, hi, the same leak again. He then asked me if it rained sideways. And I'm like, yes, it rains sideways in Florida. It rains like every different way in Florida. Like, it doesn't rain straight. Like, what are you talking about? He was like, oh, well, it's just sinking through like the sides of the building and getting in. So if it doesn't rain sideways, then you should be good. I'm like, oh, okay. So I just told the front office exactly what that guy said. I said, this is ridiculous. And I just kept a bucket for the whole rest of the 2 years that I lived in that second apartment under, like, I had to take everything out of that closet. I didn't have anything in there anymore. And I just left a bowl. Just, you'll see videos. And then there was also issues in that 2-bed, 2-bath. As soon as we moved into that 2-bed, 2-bath, there's issues with the tub in the master bedroom. So it took them 3 months to get that replaced. I had to get someone to pull the actual tub out and replace it. Took so long. I know I'm missing a couple stories. And I do remember there were always cops and ambulance at this apartment complex. Like anytime I went for a walk, which was, I tried to get out at least like 3 to 4 times a day. Like I would just walk Paisley and Aria around the complex, or I would go to the dog park in the complex. Like I would just walk around so I get like exercise, because I worked from home. So I'm like, I need some sort of exercise. So I just walk around. And I would always see either ambulance, fire trucks, or cops, always at this apartment complex. And the very last story makes me so mad. When I would bring the dog, sometimes late at night, I would go to the dog park and I would see little rats running around the fence line, like on top of the fence, just running around in circles. And I'm like, this is disgusting. I'm gonna stop going to the dog park. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, I'm gonna stop going at night, because I didn't see them during the day. I only saw them at night. So I, after that night, I was like, this is disgusting. I just walked my dogs back. My neighbor below me, she told me that she has 2 little boys that are like, they're really young. Like probably, I think they're like 4, maybe younger. I can't remember the age. She told me that she had to call the front office because there were rats running around her apartment complex with her boys. And I was like, are you serious? Thank God we didn't have rats, but she did. She was right below us. We were up above her. So somehow they got in. She said that she called the front office. They came to her apartment and they just covered the holes on where the rats would come in. Like if there was a hole where the vanity was in the bathroom, they would just cover it. And that was it. So they couldn't come in. I'm like, that is disgusting. They didn't put traps. They didn't get like anyone out to come, like anything. Like that's just so gross. So, I don't know, that apartment complex, it was definitely interesting. Like, it was a new story every single day, I feel like. I do have videos of some of those stories I'm gonna try to dig up. I did save a lot, but some I didn't, unfortunately, but I'm gonna try to insert as much as I can. But I know I'm forgetting a lot of stories, and I do apologize. I'll probably make a part 2 if I come up with any more. But let me know how I did on my first story time. I hope it wasn't too rambly, and hope it was kind of interesting. But if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.